Hey guys, Will here with Bettor Analysis. Thanks so much for tuning in, where today I'm going to break down the Minnesota Vikings. We'll be hosting the Green Bay Packers for a Week 1 matchup. So before doing my analysis, pretty surprised to see the Packers are underdogs in this one by 2.5 points. I think the general public is also surprised by this, with 57% of the bets being placed on the Packers. Both of these teams faced off twice last year. Packers won both of them pretty handedly, and the Packers are sending out an almost identical squad from last year, whereas opposed to the Vikings, they lost Stefon Diggs, a huge playmaker, and they blew up their secondary this offseason. So after doing extensive research and analysis on this game, I believe one of the big matchups that Vegas is pricing in is the loss of Byron Beluga against this really strong defensive line for the Minnesota Vikings. Beluga is a huge impact player for this Packers offense, and the loss of him is really going to be detrimental for this Packers offense. So generally when the public is doing their analysis or trying to figure out who to bet on a certain matchup, they're only looking at skilled players, and Vegas is much smarter than this. They're looking at the less exciting matchups, the one in the trenches that really have a impact on the outcome of games. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down what I think are the most impactful matchups on both sides of the ball, where I use relevant and historical data to support my analysis. So if I'm helpful, you find this material helpful and making your bets, please hit the subscribe button below. I'm going to be offering this information all year on every game. So looking at the over-under, 46 points, significantly higher than the 37 points and 33 that were put up in last year's matchups. Surprised by this total. Rodgers struggled last year against this Vikings secondary. He only had 200 yards passing in each of those games. And I think that both teams are going to be more rush heavy, which of course is more conducive to an under total. And then both the Packers and Vikings have two of the best safeties in the league. They don't allow big plays, which will prevent quick scores. So I think Vegas is pricing in that this Packers defense hasn't improved at all from last year. They're facing off against one of the best running backs in the league in Cooks. This is going to force the Packers to change their game plan and attack through the air, resulting in more points being put up. So again, my job here at Bettor Analysis is to provide you with the best insights and information on every matchup, so you understand what Vegas is pricing in, so you can poke holes in their assumptions and of course make better and more informed bets. So again, if you like what you see in this video, please hit the subscribe button below and follow me this year as I'll break down every game here on this channel to help you cash in on this NFL season. So in our next segment, In the Trenches, this is where I'll break down specific matchups on both sides of the ball. So we'll start with the Vikings on offense. Credit to Pro Football Focus for the graphic that we'll be using to analyze. So obviously with the big departure of Stefon Diggs, who's coming off a career year in receiving yards, the Vikings draft Justin Jefferson to hopefully fill that void. Jefferson was selected in the first round. He had 111 receptions and 1,500 receiving yards last year. Time will tell how quickly Jefferson can pick up the Vikings playbook. And the scouting report noted that he had a strong ability to find holes in zone defenses. So time will tell whether he can have the same success against NFL secondaries. And then you got Adam Thielen, another playmaker. He was plagued with injuries again last year, but he was effective in the one game against the Packers. He caught 5 of 8 for 75 yards. And they'll be facing off against the Packers pass defense that ranked 11th in the league last year in passing yards. Kevin King, out of cornerback, had one of his best games of the year against Cousins. Allowed less than 50% catch rate, and he had 2 picks. Then you got Alexander, another Packers cornerback, had a lot of success last year against the Vikings. Again, kept Vikings receiver at less than a 50% catch rate, although he did let up a touchdown to Stefon Diggs, but obviously won't need to worry about that in this matchup. So despite all the pressure that the Packers and the rest of the NFL applied to Cousins last year, he only threw one pick in 160 passing attempts. So he is a smart, experienced quarterback. He's not going to make stupid turnovers. And then obviously he's going to be handing off the ball to Cooks. Game changer for the Vikings offense. He didn't play in Week 16 where the Packers blew out the Vikings, but he did rush for 150 yards in Week 2. He'll be facing a Packers defense that was one of the worst in stopping the run last year, and they really didn't make much of an improvement to their inside linebacker, so I'd expect Cook to have the same success in Week 1 against this Packers defense. So now we'll look at the other side of the ball. We're looking at the Vikings on defense. So they blew up their secondary, got rid of Xavier Rhodes, Trey Waynes, Mackenzie Alexander, Andrew Sendejo. After really struggling last year, they let up the 6th highest completion percentage in the league. Xavier Rhodes being the most well-known out of that bunch. He let up 85% reception rate, 5 touchdowns, and no picks. So in my opinion, Rhodes won't be missed. I think Andrew Sendejo will be missed. He held quarterbacks to an astonishing 44 QB rating last year. He had 2 picks in his last 6 games. So the Vikings, very young, inexperienced cornerbacks. They drafted Dantzler in the 3rd round. The scouting report notes that he's so damn long. Wide receivers hate to see him line up and press. Lives in wide receivers' shoulder pads. Gives no room for error in the red zone. But some of his negatives, they note that he's built like a stick. Little muscle mass throughout his entire frame. And I think that's very important, especially in this matchup where he's likely to be facing off against a big physical receiver in Lazard, 6'5", 225. So this will definitely be Dantzler's first true test in the NFL. And then you got Hill, who missed the first half of the year due to testing positive for PEDs. He really struggled when he got back, let up a 70% reception rate, earning him a very low 60 rating for Pro Football Focus. And then Hughes, another young cornerback, also really struggled last year. So Rodgers, 65% completion rate last year against Minnesota, although he only had 200 yards passing in both games. The Vikings, some of the best safeties in the league, they're not going to get burned or let up big scores. And then on the offensive line, obviously the loss of Byron Beluga, it's definitely going to be huge for this Packers offense. Beluga was able to hold Danielle Hunter to no sacks. Danielle Hunter is one of the best pass rushing linemen in the league. And when Danielle Hunter faced off against Wagner, who's now Beluga's replacement for the Packers, Danielle Hunter had huge success. He had 4 sacks and 14 tackles when they faced off against the Detroit Lions last year. So that doesn't bode well for this Packers offense, who really struggled last year against Minnesota. This line let up 5 sacks in 2 games. But Rodgers is a smart quarterback, as I noted before. He only threw 1 interception under pressure last year. So even with the pressure from this defensive line, I feel like he's still going to be able to move the ball. And interestingly enough, with no crowd being there this year, I think this will be a huge opportunity for Rodgers to make play calls and audibles at the line. When he anticipates blitz, he can set up a quick slant, screens, keep the drives going. And then, obviously, Aaron Jones, one of the best running backs in the league. Last year, he averaged 14 rushing attempts a game. Last year against the Vikings, he averaged 23 rushing attempts a game. So I really think this Packers offense is going to be rush heavy. He had 154 yards rushing and 110 yards rushing in their 2 games against Minnesota last year. Minnesota's got one of the best linebackers in Kendricks, and obviously some of the best safeties in the league. But I think that they'll need to help support this young Vikings cornerback. So in my opinion, they're going to be playing back on their heels, which should give Aaron Jones an opportunity to, again, have really good success against this Vikings defense. And also, just an informative article that I read on Pro Football Focus talks about how the Packers are really changing their philosophy on offense. They drafted A.J. Dillon, big bruising power back, running back in the second round, and then they also took an H-back style tight end in the third round. So I think they're really trying to shift their offense to a more run-focused and, give Aaron Rodgers, who's really struggled in the past couple of years, take some of the pressure off him. So should be an interesting matchup. So that concludes my analysis for the Vikings-Packers matchup. Thank you so much for watching, and if you found it informative, again, hit the subscribe button below. I'll be here for every game this year, so please make better bets with Bettor Analysis this year. Thank you.